Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The American auto market is in upheaval, facing a level of disruption not seen in decades. Showrooms that once buzzed with activity now stand eerily quiet, and the future of many dealerships hangs in the balance. At the center of this turmoil are German car makers, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Volkswagen, brands that have long symbolized luxury, engineering, and reliability for American drivers. Once dominant forces in the U.S. market, these automakers are now being forced to scale back operations. The crisis has been triggered by a new wave of U.S. tariffs, which have upended their business models almost overnight. The Trump administration's protectionist policies have made German imports dramatically more expensive, fracturing a decades-old relationship built on mutual trust and economic cooperation. Suddenly, cars that were once affordable to many are now out of reach for most buyers. German automakers, who invested billions in U.S. plants and created thousands of American jobs, now face tough choices: halt deliveries, cut jobs, or even move production elsewhere. The ripple effects are being felt in communities that depend on these factories for their livelihoods. The dream of seamless transatlantic trade is gone, replaced by economic conflict and deep uncertainty. Decades of partnership are now at risk, and the trust that once defined this relationship is quickly eroding. American consumers are seeing prices soar and choices shrink, while dealerships and workers on both sides of the Atlantic face an uncertain future. The impact is personal, affecting families, jobs, and entire communities. This isn't just a business story, it's a warning about the real costs of protectionism in a global economy. When trade barriers rise, the consequences ripple far beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. The German auto crisis in America is a cautionary tale for industries everywhere, reminding us that economic decisions made in one country can have profound effects across the world. The turmoil began with a bold move. President Trump's administration imposed a sweeping 25% tariff on imported cars in early 2025. This decision sent shockwaves through the global automotive industry, catching many by surprise. Even after negotiations capped EU tariffs at 15%, the damage was done. Billions in new costs hit European automakers overnight. Companies like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz faced immediate financial strain. The goal was to boost U.S. jobs, but the global supply chain meant even American-made German cars became more expensive. Consumers felt the pinch as car prices soared, leading to a drop in sales. BMW and others with huge U.S. plants still relied on imported parts now subject to tariffs. This dependency on foreign parts made it difficult for these companies to avoid the increased costs. The result? Chaos. Automakers couldn't predict costs or set prices, paralyzing investment and planning. The uncertainty led to halted projects and delayed launches of new models. German exports to the U.S. plummeted by nearly a quarter in just 2 months. The sudden drop in demand forced many factories to cut back on production. Industry leaders warned that tariffs would cripple German car makers already struggling with the costly shift to electric vehicles. The added financial burden made it even harder to invest in new technologies. The new trade rules upended the industry, leaving everyone scrambling. Companies had to quickly adapt to the new economic landscape, often with little guidance. The tariff hammer had fallen, and the wreckage was everywhere. The once thriving industry now faced an uncertain future, with many questioning how long it would take to recover. The financial fallout was swift and brutal. Mercedes-Benz scrapped its earnings guidance after profits plunged 56% in the first half of 2025. BMW's profits dropped 29%, with executives blaming U.S. tariffs for eroding margins and upending strategy. Volkswagen warned investors to expect the worst, as operating profit fell 37% and tariffs added over €1 billion in costs. Porsche and Audi, VW's luxury brands, slashed forecasts and suspended U.S. deliveries, absorbing hundreds of millions in extra costs. Audi's drastic move led to a 37% profit plunge. The message was clear: even the strongest automakers couldn't withstand the shock. The tariffs created a systemic crisis, exposing the vulnerability of global giants to blunt force trade policy. The numbers told a story of carnage, and no easy way out. With profits collapsing, German automakers went into survival mode. Mercedes-Benz and others withdrew financial guidance, admitting the chaos made planning impossible. Companies considered relocating production to the U.S. to dodge tariffs, but such moves require massive investment and time. Cost-cutting became the norm. Mercedes accelerated its efficiency program, while VW and subsidiaries slashed overhead and paused non-essential projects. In a last-ditch effort, car makers rushed to stockpile vehicles in the US before tariffs hit, temporarily boosting inventory. But once the buffer ran out, the reality of higher prices and lower sales set in. These were not minor adjustments. These were drastic, painful shifts. The industry was forced to adapt on the fly, hoping for a short-term fix to a long-term problem. The stopgap measures only delayed the inevitable reckoning. The new normal was uncertainty and retrenchment. German automakers weren't alone in their pain. What happened to them was just the tip of the iceberg. The entire global auto industry was hit hard, as the shockwaves from tariffs and trade tensions rippled across continents, affecting every major player in the business. Stellantis, the multinational giant behind Jeep and Peugeot, saw its revenues tumble by 14%. The uncertainty forced the company to withdraw its financial guidance, leaving investors and employees anxious about the future. Even US giants like Ford weren't spared from the turmoil. The company faced mounting challenges, suspending forecasts and warning of $1.5 billion in trade war costs. Executives scrambled to reassure stakeholders, but the uncertainty was palpable. The reality is, no car is purely American or purely foreign anymore. Modern vehicles are assembled from thousands of parts sourced from all over the world. Tariffs on parts drove up costs for everyone, squeezing profit margins and forcing companies to rethink their supply chains. Volvo, heavily reliant on imports, responded by launching a massive $1.87 billion cost-cutting plan and slashing jobs worldwide, hoping to weather the storm. The crisis didn't stop with car makers. It spread to suppliers like ZF Group, which saw sales drop 10% and began a painful restructuring process, cutting jobs and closing plants to survive. The ripple effects were clear. Protectionism hurt all players, not just foreign brands. The auto parts industry, the backbone of manufacturing, was wounded too. In a globalized market, even a small disruption can have massive consequences. Trade barriers created a circular, firing squad. Everyone got hurt. The fallout was industry-wide, with no clear winners, only survivors trying to adapt to a new reality. The real losers? American consumers. German luxury cars now cost thousands more, pricing out many buyers and shrinking demand. Automakers cut model offerings, leaving fewer choices on showroom floors. Audi and others suspended deliveries of unprofitable models, making the market less diverse and exciting. The tariffs, meant to protect US jobs, instead put thousands at risk, especially at German brand dealerships and US plants. As sales fall, layoffs and reduced investment loom. Consumers are forced to consider less desirable alternatives or delay purchases, changing buying habits and brand loyalties. The market is more fragmented and price-sensitive than ever. The dream of owning a premium European car is fading for many Americans. The trade war is reshaping the US auto market in ways that may last for years. Affordability is now the new reality. As the crisis deepens and uncertainty grows, industry leaders and economists are calling for urgent action to prevent further damage. Their message is clear: stability is needed, not endless uncertainty or confusion that stalls progress. The demand isn't for zero tariffs, but for clear, predictable rules that allow investment, long-term planning, and innovation to thrive. Experts warn that temporary fixes or short-term solutions won't solve the core problem. Only a comprehensive trade agreement can. European leaders propose mutual tariff reductions and regulatory alignment to restore open, fair, and sustainable trade. The fate of the US auto market and thousands of jobs for workers and their families hangs in the balance. The consensus is clear. The current path is a dead end, risking further setbacks. Only diplomacy, collaboration, and genuine cooperation can steer the industry out of this crisis and toward a brighter future.